So again, welcome to the practically first panel after this Impala presentation. As you can see, it's called Spin Your Career. And let's start immediately to try to be on time. So first of all, I will introduce the today panelists. And our first panelist is above all a musician, female musician, but also head of partnerships for China's largest independent music company, which name I will not try to pronounce. She's also founder of Sofia Live Festival, board member of Bulgarian Society for Neighboring Rights, and a lot more. But probably the person with the best Google SEO ranking in this room. So it's Ruth Koleva next to me.
Thank you. I'm not sure about the Google rate. It's a good thing, but...
We will check that later. Then, with strong communication, marketing background, and over 20 years of experience, since 2020, she is the partner and CEO at Serbian India label Lampshade Media. So you heard it right, that's only 2 years ago. But actually, that was her comeback to music industry. Since 30 years ago, she founded another indie label, Rockland. Having this in mind, I would add that she's a specialist to step into the music business in the middle of global local crisis. So brave woman, Zdenka Milanović, there.
Thank you.
And in the middle we have, he's active on indie music scene for more than 2 decades. I would add that he still looks very young. And he's a record label founder, booker, promoter, conference manager of Showcase Festival Ment Ljubljana, also board member of Runda, Mr. Moonly himself, Miran Rusian. So as I introduced our panelists, I would invite you also to participate. So you can take your mobile phone out, go to slido.com, S-L-I-D-O, and you can use the code which is spin-runda. If you do that, you can ask questions during the panel that I will immediately see here, and maybe I will use some of these questions during the panel. So feel free to ask whatever you want to ask. So then let's move on. So I will probably start with, usually advice goes at the end, but I will start with advice at the beginning. So it is about what my panelists would advise to the newcomer or emerging artists. So is it to go all in from the beginning? Because we all know that even if you succeed, it takes some time to make a living wage out of the music if you're a new artist. So should they go all in, or should they go in parallel with their studies, other talents, and so on? And for this, yeah, I would first ask Miran, because he has a lot of experience with new and emerging artists.
Hello, everyone. I wouldn't advise the really young musicians to go all in immediately. I mean, whatever all this all in means, like, or maybe also because I'm not sure if I can say that I meet someone who would be ready to go all into something, because all in means like, yeah, working, I don't know, 8 hours per day for your career. Anyway, I think it's more, I don't know, reasonable to, I mean, of course, try to make the best out of your music, and try to, you know, educate yourself, get connections, learn how to do stuff, like to produce your songs well. I mean, the first thing I think at the beginning, like, yeah, have a perfect product, which is a song, a video, or whatever, and then start working on it, building fun community, and yeah, just, I don't know, start as organically as possible, and yeah, I don't know. I on my position, I would be afraid if somebody comes with the all-in perspective and like immediately starts talking about his or her career like at the pure beginning. Like, I would rather like, okay, let's start. I mean, of course, at any point you have to try to make the best what you can in your circumstances, but yeah, let's try to be realistic.
Okay, so maybe, Ruth, maybe you can tell us about your experience when you started your career. Was it like you knew from the beginning, I will succeed, I go all in, or it was like...
Yeah, I was all in. Everything. But, okay, so there's a small difference, because when I started doing music, we didn't have all this, like, the digital stuff, right? So it was very different back then. But I would definitely say that in order to have any sort of build-up, in order to achieve anything, or if you want to be on a label, because I remember that was like part of our discussion now. If you want to be on a label, if you want to work with a manager, if you want to be with an agent, you need to have some sort of leverage. And that leverage doesn't come just by being sweet and talented. And I know, and through my years, I got signed, the first time I got signed, I was 15. So that's a little while ago. It's been a while. And through this, all these years, I've seen like super amazing, talented people that never make it. And all of you have seen super talented, amazing people that have never made it. Because talent is a very small portion of what it takes to achieve something. And my main point here would be, if you like going all in doesn't necessarily mean like sell your parents' gold or something, you know, don't do stupid stuff, but take all opportunities, like perform at small places, perform at, like, don't be, yeah, I have 5,000 followers on TikTok and I'm like the big thing now, right? You need to take all opportunities, because exposure is important. And we live in time where attention span of people is so short because of the scrolling mentality. You see something, like, I'll give you an example. For 40 years, the radio format of a song was 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Now we see songs massively under 2 minutes. So people don't have the attention. They're not gonna remember you. You're gonna be famous for 1 week and then it's the next one. So do not ever forget that. We live in times where massive consumption is happening, and if you want to build something, be sustainable, yeah, you gotta be all in. Like, you have to take all the opportunities. Do not be embarrassed, like, if you have to perform on the street or you have to perform. And artists that have, I'd say, made it, like, and even for myself, I can say I've slept on the floor in an Airbnb on tour, and then the next night I'm in a 5-star hotel. You have to know small and big, like, you have to be able to adapt without putting your ego in the way. And that's a massive point here. And if there are artists here, because I'm a little blind, you have to really listen to this. This is the most important thing. And the other most important thing is trying to learn constantly and understand the business. Because no one really wants to really help you. Most of the people do not want to, like, they want something out of you. The only asset that any of us has is time. So if you find a single person that's willing to, like, really help you and invest in you, perfect, you've hit the jackpot. But 99% of people do not. They want to make something out of you, like, for themselves. So learn and do not trust blindly. Like, do not trust pretty much anyone other than your grandmother. That's my point.
Okay, thanks, Ruth, for this.
That was long, sorry.
No, it was really good introduction, I would say. So, Zdenka, would you like to add something on this point also?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, I will just want to add, I mean, they're both in a way right, and it's going this direction of, it's a bit of, I would say, how to see this discrepancy with the fact that it's very clear today that being in the business is a serious business, and all this platform, artist or entrepreneur is present, and you know it requires hard work, and they know it. So you really need to treat it as you are starting your own company, like a startup. You need to huge effort, you know, the way how you, of course, the music, the way how you present yourself, understanding your audience, I mean, how you brand yourself, and whether you work alone with, or with, of course, with the partners from the label or the managers and other things. They know there are a number of revenue streams. It's a huge diversification. So, and we have some experience that recently the artists are coming really ready for all in. They are also ready sending, I don't know, emails 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's a different culture. So this culture of really taking this entrepreneurial way of approach to the music is present. They know that it's not easy, and maybe, of course, they cannot just leave everything, the businesses, because it takes time to pay off. But at least there is this attitude. We understand that it takes really time and hard work to come to this position, to make this business or my career work properly.
Thank you. So maybe we can immediately continue. Just Ruth mentioned that there are people that usually wants to get something out of you, but rarely there are people that will really help you on your way, just be all for you.
Except your grandmother.
Except your grandmother, yeah, that's always nice. But maybe Zdenka, maybe we can immediately proceed with question of all questions, and I can already imagine the answer from record labels here, but let's try. So should you go with label or like independent without label? Does it depend? Are you a new emerging artist or you are there for already some time? So from your point of view.
You know what, we will just build upon what I said, you know, this artist and entrepreneur thing. So meaning that they are aware, and there is the huge awareness from their side of their position, because position is different. So whether there is they are going alone or with the label, there is a totally different attitude, because they are requiring to be in control. They know it. They know, they maybe don't know how, and not all the opportunities, but they know already a lot of things. So they want this transparency. They want this partnership. So it's very clear thing in a way what it requires to build a business. So I know that because of the previous ways of working, there is a lack of trust with the labels, but also it's clear it's a huge work. And what the labels do have is, of course, resources and expertise. Some of the artists, we know they want to go alone, and they want to go with some streams that they think that they should go with, but it's rare. You want to build the business, you cannot go alone. But what is different, that the way how they approach, and it's experience, we know how it's present a lot, is that they choose a label or the manager as partner. So it's very, how to say, partnership level cooperation. So you build the value, we know what you do, but it's clear to both things. It's transparent. It's transparent, what do you do for me and how he works. So this partnership level, I think it's really something that is more, I would say, with indie labels present a lot. It's this way you work together, you build together, and there is a trust. So this is where there is no question then, because you know that label can work where you cannot cover lots of things. Only if they are just doing on, I mean, the artists on promoting their, how to say, the social media. We know a lot, they should be present a lot, and it's the, how to say, even more than 100% work. So I would say with the labels, of course, but just from this perspective, how it is today, this partnership, transparency, and of course knowing what is the contribution from each side.
Okay, cool. So Ruth, you have a lot of experience with indie labels, and as far as I saw on the internet, I don't know if that's true, that you are first Bulgarian artist to be signed with a major, which is now the case. So you have all the experience. What would you say from that experience?
Well, you said it earlier, go with the labor. That's what I think is the best, like work at yourself. But so I like indies. I prefer indies. They're more boutique, they're more focused on the artist and etc. But the majors control the influence on the DSPs. So curated playlists and editorials and all that. It's a machine that has a lot of money. So I actually would say that I'm doing right now an experiment to see what this all is gonna mean. Again, your best position when signing with a label, with a major or with an indie, is having leverage. If you don't have leverage, you know, they'll like give you 10% or like, it's not gonna be a good deal for the artist. And my best suggestion in any case is build your leverage until you make that step. If it's not possible, then it's not possible. But I think we're in time where labels are not, they're not the gatekeepers anymore. They are in a sense that they, you know, they control what's being pushed and whatever added to the playlists, but all other aspects, from the marketing to the structure to the management to the promotion to the touring, could be done independently by the artist if they are knowledgeable enough. So yes, I totally agree, having partners is extremely important, but we can do now such diverse ways of structuring deals with labels. Like, you can own the majority of the masters, for example, which was impossible to even think something like that 20, 30 years ago. So there's better opportunities and positioning for artists, and I truly believe that, but it's important for the artists to learn, to study, and do the labor themselves to a certain point. That's, I always, you know, I keep that position.
What about you, Miran? You probably agree that knowledge is the key, but...
Yeah, I mean, I will just continue where Ruth finished. Like, I actually like to leave the artists to first do the first steps themselves. So they just grab the chance to see how the things could be done and what all it means to do the first step. So they make all the mistakes, and so they can see how much work there is behind. So when you start working with them, they maybe respect your work more and appreciate your work more, because okay, yeah, so much to do. And like, especially nowadays, I mean, last years with all the diversification of the work that labels and have to do to promote releases and stuff, it's I would say it's super hard for the artists to do it on themselves. It's not impossible, of course, if you educate yourself, if you have the experiences, knowledges, network connections, it's possible. But I don't think there is many artists around that have all that. I mean, or maybe even an artist who has like the management who can do all this. It's totally fine. They can do without the label. But yeah, especially in the area we're coming from, I don't see that many, I would say, managements who could do that. So basically, yeah, many times the record labels are maybe the first person, I mean the first team next to the artist. And then, I mean, I can speak from Moonly's perspective. None of our artists has their own management. So basically, we are the first one who give like the advices, the consultation about everything, what could be done, what should be done.
Okay,
yeah,
so
actually to go back, like we are the ones going all in.
Yes, okay. So labels have kind of multiple roles these days.
Yeah, I mean, especially for
in
like the lower
yeah.
scale and for the emerging artists. Like, of course, when you grow up, like you have to, build bigger teams around it.
Okay, cool. As you mentioned, on this road to building a living wage, when you start doing music or into music, there are some obvious things how you can make money. So it's usually people have in mind before it was selling CDs, vinyls. Okay, it's again probably active. You can sell your merch. You can have a concerts. That all works. But are there any, let's say, other sources of money incomes from the artists that are maybe not so obvious ones that artists should keep in their mind when they start?
I think it's full of them right now. Like, there's funding opportunities, mobility programs, exchange, all that. So of course people should definitely, and I find this is a problem, especially in Bulgaria, artists, performers, and also composers are not at all aware of their rights. They don't know how that system works, so they don't know how royalty and copyright works at all. So, that's a problem, for sure. And it needs to be, I think the business as well, people from the other side need to educate the artists, because we went through a very big, I don't want to use a bad word, but like a shit show during COVID, where, you know, artists that were, the majority of their income was coming from performances were like, ah, what am I doing, right? And they didn't, like, none of them were paying that's in Bulgaria. None of them were paying taxes. They were like, I don't know how I can get, like, unemployment benefits. So it's a lot about, hi.
Hang out here. Got off the plane, so, you know.
Okay. Hello, Robert. Welcome on the stage. We have Robert Singerman with us.
I think you can say more about that.
Yeah, actually, I would like that we pass the mic to him, because actually today on this same place at 3 p.m. he will hold our presentation about Lyric Find, which is about kind of monetizing your lyrics and translate it and so on. So can you tell us maybe a little bit, maybe not about that, but you heard the question, maybe you want to talk about something else.
Yeah, so the topic is spin your career. I just heard the last question about other ways of making money that aren't usually that normal. I missed half of it. I'm so sorry. But so I'm not really sure what you covered already. But I know Ruth said funding is one, and of course everybody in the audience probably knows about the export offices that might be available or that they can start. People probably know about WIN, the Worldwide Independent Network, I would imagine. The different organizations. If they're publishers, they probably know about the International Music Publishers Forum, the Publishers Association. I think that collective action and associations are really important. If they're labels, they probably know about Merlin and distributors. But I think in terms of artists, you know, right now it's, you've probably already covered this also, the DSPs and the new technologies that exist all over the web. And if you actually find the right new technology and work with them successfully, you can be a breakthrough artist on almost any new technology if you play it right. So I think there's tons of different ways of doing it. One thing that I'm not going to speak about so much at 3 o'clock that's happening in 2023 that everybody should know about is there's a new top-level domain, .music. I'm a partner in that. So like .org, .net, .com, .music. We won this for the music community. It's governed by the music community, no cyber squatting. It's like, basically it'll be like a $1 million website for $50 a year, but it'll also rise all of the wise practices in the music industry. So it'll be a combination of a registry, which can only sell .music domains, and a registrar. So think about GoDaddy meets LinkedIn meets Amazon or eBay in terms of commerce, and then as well just in terms of connecting everybody in the music community. So .music is something that hardly anybody knows about. I mean, we've been working on it for 15 years, but it's not coming out until 2023. So that's something interesting to look out for. And I don't know what else you covered, so I don't really want to.
I got an idea about something I wanted to add. And that's sync, and that's a very important way.
Yeah, sync is huge. I'm a partner at Sync Summit. I don't know if I didn't know that you didn't talk about that, but yes,
so
sync is super important.
It's important for artists because now, like, that's a big source of revenue, which is aside from everything that we kind of covered. And when talking about sync, just wanted to add a quick thing. We're not talking only about movies or ads and TV shows. There are like thousands of other ways, games, online content. So if there are artists that haven't heard about this and haven't like really tapped into what sync is, I would very much advise doing a research.
Yeah, it's synchronizing your music with visual images, and check out syncsummit.com, S-Y-N-C Summit. There's a lot of really good free information on there, and meeting of different music supervisors. But for artists who are emerging artists, new artists, an easy way is go to your local film school and just start getting stuff in films with friends or whatever. And then you have a reel of your music with visual images. So syncs are absolutely important. It could be a life-changing event. One artist I worked with at South by one year, Polar was his name. He was an Irish artist signed to a French label managed by Marc Ridet from Switzerland. And he had one German, Michael Bisping from ASS, a promoter, really liked Polar, sent one cassette tape, that was in the cassette tape days, to Deutsche Telekom. He got a Deutsche Telekom ad that they spent, I think it was about 65 million euro, 65 million euros, something like that, crazy numbers. And it was only his music. There was no voiceover. And then he got a $250,000 East-West, major label deal. So syncs are really important. Syncs can be a total game changer. But even if it just helps you in terms of talking points in your career, it's super important. Yeah.
Cool. So thank you, Robert, for jumping in and bringing immediately this great news. So, so it's really, I'm really glad that you're here with us. So you mentioned in this already DSPs, and it's okay. But there is one. We always hear about streaming, Spotify streams, how much artists earn for Spotify, so on. But what we, I think, are talking less about is about social media videos. So I don't know, maybe Zdenka, do you have experience with some artists here? So in a region, in the terms that people usually know that how Spotify works, and that's okay. But when your sound is used in an example in a TikTok, do you also earn money? How do you earn that money? So is there or do you know maybe some regional artists that became viral via TikTok, and how that is then transferred to Spotify numbers or other numbers?
Yeah, I mean, we have a few of the artists that started, I would say, the last year, very active on TikTok. And for the ones that are, how to say, relevant, like Marco Luis or ICMC, I would say two examples. And I would say that it really had a great impact on their overall, how to say, other, for example, streaming services. First, it helped in building the base, which I would say is the most important thing. They helped to build the fan base, and also the new, younger, of course, the other profilization of the target group of the fans that didn't have before. And then it had, I would say, considerable the impact on the number of listeners on Spotify, for example, and others. So it helped overall build the base, it brought the age, and then it influenced also the streaming and overall, I would say, the brand value and the fan bases. So it helped not only this, but just generally on other revenue opportunities, digital.
Okay, because what I also had in mind is that in Spotify you kind of see number of streams, you earn something per stream, and in TikTok it's a little bit different. You kind of earn by the numbers of video made with your sound. That's the latest that I found on their algorithm. So do you maybe, Miran, when you look at the reports, do you see these numbers? Are they comparable to streaming or not?
In our case, they're quite small, so basically I don't really dig into it. But here I would say, like, yeah, choose your digital distributor wisely, so that they are also picking these pennies from these platforms. And of course, yeah, probably if you have an artist who is big on TikTok, probably it will relate also on the digital revenues you are getting. And yeah, as she said, like, it will probably transfer also to the Spotify numbers as well. But here I would also maybe point out maybe more not these classical streaming platforms, but maybe more like direct-to-fan platforms like Bandcamp and stuff, where especially when you're like emerging artists, like where you can start building your fan communities, and there you can get direct support from your fan base. Like basically, you have these name your price options. You can have subscription options. I mean, if you have 1,000 super fans, which we will give you, I don't know, 10 euros per year, which is nothing. It's still some money that you can invest into something. So basically, yeah, I would actually rely more than on the streaming pennies because as an artist, before you reach some bigger numbers, it's the streaming revenues are small. I mean,
There's Patreon also, you know, and of course
Similar.
GoFundMe and Kickstarter, and as well, you know, so crowdfunding is pretty important. There's also sometimes crowdfunding tours you can do if you have a well-known enough band and people actually want you in some part of the world. And everything is geolocated now, so it's actually easier to find out where your fans are. But I mean, in terms of TikTok, you know, they've launched similar to Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music platform called Rezo, and Lyricfind has an agreement with Rezo as well. So one thing to know, when your lyrics are exhibited on these platforms, you actually double the publishers per stream revenue. So it's micro pennies, but 2 times the micro pennies that the publishers get. So it's double, and on ad-supported services it's ×4. So it's a big jump up, and it also increases the mechanicals and the performances. But I don't know if you spoke about it earlier or not, but really the most important thing for artists, labels, publishers, managers is to make sure that your metadata is sorted, you know, that everything is clear, you know, with the music, so they know how to find you, who to pay, what the splits are, etc. Because those micro pennies do add up if you're successful. And even on TikTok, you know, there is the internet royalties that you're getting as well from the TikTok airplay, as you know, of the music too. So yeah, it all does add up. But if you don't have it together, if your metadata is not sorted, you know, you're not going to get it.
Okay, thank you, Robert. And as I already mentioned, more from Robert you can hear at 3 p.m. here, because we are practically out of time, and I would like to use the opportunity to see if there is any question in the audience for any of the panelists. If there is, you can raise your hand and you will get a mic. If we see you, I don't see you.
No questions?
Okay. Then let's wrap it up. Okay. If no questions, thank you for this chit-chatting. Thank you, Robert, for late joining, and thank you all for listening. So enjoy.
Thanks. Thank you.